open state is used for one of the three positions. On a parameter preset bar, you can ask to have it not do that. And the reason being, with a source selector, if I'm on source 1 and I turn my little rotary control to source 3, it hits source 2 first. Then it hits source 3. Now, on a source selector, that's not a big deal. But on parameter presets, if you're on parameter preset 1 and you want to go to parameter preset 7, you want to trigger 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in between? Probably not. What you do is you say with dead state. What that'll do is it tells Soundweb, tells the hardware, ignore the open contact position. They ignore the open contact position. If you go without dead state, then what will happen is your three states will be 400 ohms, 2700 ohms, infinite resistance. In other words, open contact. If you go with state, your three positions might be 350 ohms, 1700 ohms, 2900 ohms, and an open is ignored. The reason for that is you can then put a button in line with your source selector or with your parameter preset selector, which opens the contact. So you can rotate your selector to the correct position, then push the button to close it. When you push the button, Soundweb will then see the resistance and make the change to that preset. And it won't trigger all the presets in between. That's what with dead state and without dead state mean. That was confusing, and it usually is the first time you hear it. Actually, it usually is the second or third time, too. Just remember that if you're going to put parameter presets on a physical wall control, there's a way to set it up so that it won't trigger 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 when it's rotating to get to 7. And call us. We'll walk you through how to do it. No big deal. With dead state, without dead state. Identical icons, unfortunately. Be nice if they were different, but oh well. Lots of things would be nice. You can also take individual parameter preset bars, ones that only have one parameter preset on them, drag them on there. They get a slightly different icon. Here's one of the little historical things. If you look at that little icon, I'll grab this preset over here, drag it up to number 5. Look very similar, don't they? Once upon a time, parameter presets were called mini presets. So the icon is a preset icon with the letter M under it. They changed the name years ago. Then 6 years probably, because the name was changed. And nobody ever got around to changing the icon. Oh well. You may have any questions on presets and parameter presets. How they go on the control ports. Okay. One other fun thing you can do. Yesterday, when we were playing around with these source selector controls, we looked at morphing. And if I took this master mute and put it on control input number 1, oops, did it wrong. Put it on control input number 1 as a toggle action. Okay. Make a copy of it, morph it into an LED. Put that onto control output number 1 in normal mode. What's going on here is when I put the LED on the output, I'm telling the output to change its 5-volt state based on that LED. If I put normal, then when the LED is on, the output is 5 volts. When the LED is off, the output is 0. That 5 volts, by the way, is designed to drive an LED. If you plug an LED in back there, you don't have to have a current limiting resistor. You just plug it straight in. And it's extremely low current. It is not designed to directly drive most relays. If you're going to drive a relay with the control output, you're going to have to use a little teeny tiny read relay, a little small draw relay, to trigger the larger one. Or, fun trick you can use, you can actually treat the control outputs, if you like, as though they were contact closures. You can wire up an external power supply, run it through the control outputs, trigger a heavier relay. But what I've just done here is assign the mute button as a toggle and the LED on the output. Because the big problem with assigning things to control ports, to physical switches, is what happens if, let's say I've got a button on the wall, if I had assigned this as direct action, where when the button is closed, my mute is on, there. Oh, I had them both selected. That freaked me out. I didn't realize you could do two of them at one time. If I had it selected as direct action, where when the button is closed, the mute is on, and I go over there and I close that button, okay, I've got a toggle button. What happens then if somebody goes to the software, turns that mute off? My button on the wall is still in the closed position. So when I go to the wall to remute that thing, first I've got to unmute the button, then I've got to mute the button. My button gets out of sync with my software. However, if I take the button and assign it to control port 1 as toggle, and the LED to the output is normal, I can use a momentary contact button on the input with a built-in LED to show the current state. When I walk up to the button on the wall and I tap that button on the wall, it'll mute. It's currently unmuted, and the LED will turn on. And if I walk up to the button on the wall and press it again, it'll unmute. The LED will turn off. And that works with everything else. Polarity buttons, any of your various buttons. Source select buttons, if you've got them set up the way these are set up, you can do your source select right on the screen, right on the hardware buttons with LEDs to show you which one's currently selected. So use a morphed LED on your outputs. You cannot put, and I wish you could, how cool would it be if you could drag a fader to control output? But if you do, it fails. I'd love people to do that and have a voltage from 0 to 5 to tell you what the current value is. Doesn't work. Cool, doesn't work. Basically, the only things you can place on control outputs are things you can morph into an LED. So that's a good test for you. Just right-click on device, hit morph, see if it says LED in the list. Doesn't say LED, you're not going to be able to put it onto the control output. Not going to work. Again, the control outputs are just 0 to 5 volts. Very low current. Very, very simple. Now, there have been a couple of questions here as we're going through presets and control ports and stuff about triggering timed events. Just want to mention that although the answer is no on timed events, if you use the Soundweb London series, the Blue series, PSS, you can do all kinds of timed events. Anything you want to do, on a schedule, on a time delay, whatever. Be aware of that. Oh, the other thing I almost forgot to tell you. Your control port assignments, here's this configuration right here. You have to program your control ports, or you're allowed to program your control ports, take your pick, for each individual configuration of that box. And the reason being, if my 8 control ports mean one thing when it's set for default, well, when I load the mixer configuration, whatever I assign to those control ports, those processing objects don't even exist anymore. So I need to define something else to be attached to the control ports for the mixer configuration. If you're going to use more than one configuration, you have to assign the control ports individually. By the way, it makes it real easy to create a control port to toggle between 2 or 3 or 4 configurations. Just in every configuration, you put a momentary contact button on input 1 that triggers the next configuration. Now, it's not a button you want somebody leaning against, so don't put it at shoulder height in your control booth. Kind of a well-duh situation. Question on control ports? Check my cheat sheet here. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay. Set this up real quick. All right, we're about 2 minutes ahead of schedule here. So we're going to go ahead and take our 10-minute break. It is just coming up on 12:58 Chicago time. So we'll break until 12:58 Chicago time. Why is that not showing? Oh, because I'm clicking in the wrong place. There we go. Break to 12:58 Chicago time. See you guys in 10 minutes.